some point that morning. But it's still
For Flabonga Monthrothacube, with Dale and Tony breaking all the rules, talking tech biz and straight up chaos. Quick fire guests, oh yeah, we slay those.
Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthrothacube. With me today, I've got my banging co-host,
Tony Stevenson.
We've got our awesome mystery guest,
Lee Stallard.
surprise motherfuckers. Who else was it going to be? Like, it could have been someone really interesting. No offense, Lee.
It could have been.
But,
As if it'd been like the king or something, you know.
that would have been incredible. The questions I would ask him. You know what? He'd never be on the show because someone would vet it and go, "You can't be on this show, King Charles.
Yes.
You can't
Definitely no.
mingle with these peasants and their foolishness." So
Did
shout
miss
out
an
to
opportunity though to use some sort of AI generator that I could have come on as the king, but it's just a trick.
Just like a wobbly face, just like
yeah, like for like 1980s kind of CGI, like it's like Animorphs kind of thing. First of all, shout out to Elle Noble. She had to drop off last minute yesterday for personal reasons. Yeah, so sorry she couldn't be with us. She will be back at some point. So all of you who are waiting to hear from Elle, very sorry. But is Lee equally as good? I mean, he is good, but is he equally as good?
We only have 10 out of 10 guests, so they're all the best guests we've ever had.
That is not true. We have some shite guests.
It's not true.
I'm not naming them, but some guests are better than others.
Some of the rubbish ones you got back on as co-host.
Yeah,
we should get more juice out of that guy. I'm sure of it. He's got potential somewhere.
Right. So normally I'd be like, just so you know, we now have a sponsor, Nomad Flow, blah 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 blah. But for those of you who don't know, Lee is the owner/founder of Nomad Flow. So Lee, you get something special. You get a 60-second elevator pitch, which I don't give to everyone else. 6 seconds.
All right.
Go.
All right. So the biggest problem in the accounting tech space, in my opinion and in my experience, is activation. So people buy stuff, they don't use it. Same as when people buy gym memberships and they don't use them, or when they buy books on Kindle or whatever and don't read them. Same issue here. And it is not a product issue. It's not a training issue. It's not a technology issue. It's a behavior change and habit issue. And so I call that the activation gap. And it's a big problem because it slows the revenue growth of vendors down. It slows accountants and bookkeepers down from getting value. And ultimately that trickles through to small businesses. So Nomad is about closing that activation gap. And we work primarily with vendors at the moment to help them make their onboarding and experience easier to work with. And in the future, we'll start working with accountants as well, teach them how to do change management and behavior change so that they can build habits around these tools, and everybody gets more value. Hopefully the economy grows and we all live in the
58 seconds, by the way. I've been timing you.
Done.
Not bad. Not bad. Sorry, I cut you off at the end. I'm going to jump into the comments real quick because Mark Howison has asked a very salient and poignant question. Mark Howison, do you feel second best, Lee, after my introduction, I guess?
I try to have the philosophy that we're just competing against ourselves. And as long as I'm better today than I was yesterday, then I'm all good. So that's a posh way of saying yes, I do feel second best to Elle. I'm sure she would be a very, very interesting guest. But I'll do my best.
Mark, again, no sponsors jingle. No sponsors jingle.
Not a sponsor jingle this time.
Might be our jingle on AI live
Maybe.
while we were on stream. It was a good episode.
Yes, I think I saw that one. Yeah.
I love that jingle.
It's pretty epic. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Lee because he's the guest.
Yeah.
Lee, are you able to tell us any notable clients you're working with at the moment and the results of your work? Because I know you might have NDAs in place. You can't say you're working with, but like,
there's not NDAs in place. I'm just cautious of naming them because the challenge with it is if you're working with someone like me to improve your onboarding process, it may suggest to people that there's something wrong with it or that you're not being successful. And so I'm just cautious not to name people unless they've specifically said so. So there are like people would recognize the names.
Big ones.
Big ones. Yeah, huge ones.
Okay, when you say big, do you mean like staff size or turnover or both? When you say big, how do you define big?
Companies with a couple of hundred people are the sort of biggest names in the space that would have relatively large stands at Accountancy, I suppose.
Cool. just wanted to try and boost you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. No, it's fine. I'm pretty sure they'd be fine with me saying, but I don't want to overstep.
Wise.
Yeah.
Good call.
There's two of us on this call that take a cautious approach to what we say live on the internet, and there's Dale as well.
That's why
I would argue
mute half the time.
I would argue that I'm more cautious than some of our guests. For example, I've never named a favorite child.
No,
not once. Like Florentina.
And wouldn't you be in a position to do that quite comfortably?
Sorry?
Would you be in a position to do that quite comfortably?
Yeah, she's the one and only. So she's
exactly, and he didn't even do it.
But I might have another surprise at some point in the future. I don't know. Like, internet is fair. Also, now that I'm out of the accounting and fintech space, like officially, I can say what I want. It's great. Can burn all them bridges. Like this software vendor, they're the worst. I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. It's just not nice, is it? It's just not nice. It's no need.
Be nice.
You don't have to.
Can I start with I'm going to start with a Tony question. I normally just let Dale kind of riff for a while I percolate my thoughts, but as you know, Liz, in particular, what I'm going to preface everything that we say today is that I happen to be particularly interested in the stuff that Lee does, and therefore I'm going to ask him lots of questions about the stuff that he does. And I'm not really doing that because he's a sponsor of the show. I'm doing that because I'm interested in what he's got to say. So believe me if you want, listeners.
I don't believe you.
No, I didn't. Co-host didn't believe me.
I think you've got a secret side deal with Lee, and you're getting sweet, fat money to ask him these questions.
Absolutely
cut me out,
not,
Tony.
Absolutely not the case. So yeah, like the activation gap, right? What do you think is at the root of the activation gap in our space?
I think there's a few causes, and well, I want to be careful how sort of bold and brash I go with it, but not to call people out massively, but I think there's issues on both sides, right? So a lot of the time, accounting firms don't actually know what they want and why they want it. They're driven by marketing or shiny or peer pressure or whatever to go, we need to use this tool because that's everyone's talking about, it's the thing, we should do it. Beyond that, though, a lot of them haven't even really defined and written down their processes and their operating procedures. I was talking to someone about this a while ago, and it's like if you look at an American city versus York, right? American cities or Milton Keynes, purpose built, all organized, and it's all nice and things, right?
Thought about how this might play out into the future, not for right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like York or London or something, it's just evolved gradually over time. And so you've got all these compromises, but you've got all these little jitties and stuff that aren't really clear and obvious, but it somehow works. And that's what a lot of accounting firms' processes are like. It's just sort of evolved. And so that's hard. And then on the other side of things, vendors, they just need to grow right off. And a lot of VC backs, they have to go quickly. And they're dealing with people that are a little bit more contemplative and reflective, and so they need to inject urgency, and they often do that, or sometimes do that, by overselling the certainty and the simplicity of things. So people walk into these things thinking it's going to be bang done, and it's not. And actually, I would argue that the cost of the transformation is probably more impactful than the cost of the financial cost. But that doesn't get talked about. That's sort of put to the side because we just want to get it done.
Oh, let's put a number on it.
So there's bits all over the place, right?
I had an interesting conversation with a multiple-time guest who all know Richard Sargent about this exact thing. I can't remember if we talked about it. What we talked about online, or whether it was we talked about it one-to-one. Shout out Richard, because I'm speaking to him later today, if you're listening. And he described it as like water and oil, and trying to make those make those two things kind of come together, in that we've got like a vendor side, a really sort of clear kind of idea about how we can get this done and get it done fast, and then we sort of expect a reflected kind of order and structure within firms, and actually, often maybe that order and structure is not what we were expecting it to be from a vendor's perspective. So I think that can create that sort of, I don't know, friction or not friction, but go on, Dale.
I'm going to jump in. First of all, we got a viewer asking a good question, right? It's very good. Fun question.
Cool.
And then
Can I-
also, we've also got some like fintech royalty in the comments, and he will hate that I've called him that. He'll hate it. He'll absolutely hate it because he's a nice guy. But I'm going to call him out in a minute. You can announce him, Tony, right?
No, no. What I was going to say was before we put the comments on the screen, I don't know, Lee might be able to see them already, but this is the comment, right? Is also, we'll put the other one on first, but also favorite boss you've ever worked with? ? Who do you think that comment might have come from?
Can you see the comments, Lee, or not?
He could have clicked into the right tab, but you're probably not. So
from Glenn, okay. He thinks it's from Glenn. Good guess, good guess. Let's go to Mark Howson's question first. We'll do a silly one, and then we'll do the FinTech Legends question. Right, Mark Howson, what rubbish are you hiding in the IKEA shelving units behind you? That's to Lee, blatantly.
That's a great question.
Me. Yeah,
I've got some camera equipment and things in there, but it's a lot of my daughter's toys and stuff. It's overflow from her room, so I have an office to myself. And
well, clearly
so
not
compromise of that
daughter stuff in it.
Well, exactly, yeah. The compromise was some of her stuff gets stored in the back there in the Kallax. So it's cool. Yeah, that's what it is.
We've got to give a shout out to Kirsty St. John, live, not Elle, also on hold at HMRC, so may have to vanish. Thank you for joining, Kirsty, long-time friend of the show. She was a great guest too. All right, now let's go to the guy that I've overhyped that hates it because he's a humble dude. Tony, do you want to say his name? And Tony, do you want to bring up his first question?
I'm bringing up the second question. So you were pretty close. You were very close. Pretty close.
Yeah, Gary. Wow.
And this was Gary's first question. Hi, shout out to Gary as well.
We need to read it just in case people aren't watching. Does Lee think there could be a parallel with the cloud accounting activation gap and the perceived lack of ROI with our AI projects? ROI.
So when you look at behavior, and pull me back if I get too much into the weeds of this, right?
No,
I will definitely pull you back.
Here that I've been reading. So this book here that I've been reading is called the Behavior Change Wheel, and it talks about all of the elements that need to be involved for people to do and complete certain behaviors, right? And so in there's motivation. Obviously, if we're going to do something, we've got to be motivated to do it. And there's reflective motivation, and then there's automatic motivation. So reflective motivation is when I sit back on a Sunday and think, what am I going to do this week? Is an AI project going to give me an ROI or not? That's reflective motivation. Like, I think it's a good idea or I don't. That's very different to what happens in the moment when you then sit down on a Thursday morning and go, I've now got to do this job in a different way. And so, yes, the perception or a perceived lack of ROI could be causing the activation gap. But I'd probably argue that if you don't see the ROI on something, you're not going to start in the first place. You don't have the activation gap. It's a different problem. It's just they're not buying in the first place.
Can I add to that as well?
Go on, Dale.
It's kind of back to what you said previously about accounting firms not having standard operating procedures, right? And how they've grown in a nebulous way, like London. If you don't already have some kind of process, some kind of median process, it's very hard to put AI on top of it. Like AI, in my observation, requires some kind of structure. If you throw AI on lots of random kind of partnership, I do it this way, this person does it this way, this office is different, it doesn't work because my observation is it needs some kind of standardization in a practice. Yeah. And if you don't have that, so the activation gap for AI is slightly different because the AI activation gap is somewhat beholden to the cloud accounting or the actual systems workflow you have to do first. That's my theory on that one.
I guess so. And just rereading Gary's question, I suppose, is another way to look at that, which is probably what he meant, and I might have thought about it the wrong way. But like the fact that there's such a lag in value in the cloud accounting activation gap, does that then make people look at AI and go, well, cloud didn't really work, so AI probably isn't going to? Whereas in fact, it does work. It's just there's that missing piece. So yeah, it probably could be one leading into another. And there is in change management is the idea that the more like stalled or failed change projects you go through, the more resilience people build against change. They're like, we're not going to do it now because we've tried it 5 times and it never did. So people will just sit back and not bother. So there could be an element of that in there as well.
More importantly, though, you need to answer the question: who is actually your favorite boss you've ever worked with? You guessed who might have asked the question. You didn't actually answer.
Yeah, it's going to seem like but it is Gary.
Really? Because you're self-employed, so surely you're your favorite boss.
No, I'm an awful boss. I'm terrible.
Is it
I'm
also,
just
doesn't,
scatting all over
doesn't that, in the absence of that, doesn't it default to Mrs. Stallard becoming your sort of pseudo proxy boss, right? Hence the kids' toys in your office, right?
Oh,
exactly.
Tony, who's the favorite boss you've ever worked with? That's a good question. Let's go round.
Well, I've got to say Stuart. It's my current boss, right? So I've worked with some really good bosses, and I've worked with some not so good bosses. And I think that what I take from it is that like whatever era that you're in at that particular time, you can get different things from different bosses. So I might have had like a good boss at a particular time in my career when I needed them to be a certain thing to me, and at that time they were great. So I used to work for this guy called James when I was in practice, and James was he'd be a great guest actually. He is if you're listening, James, which is highly unlikely, but if you are listening, he was a lovable old rogue, just like a fabulous guy.
We'll tag him later.
Yeah, and he was very similar to me. He'd started out in practice and decided that it wasn't for him quite early. He had done about a decade, as long as I did, and then he got to a point almost when he was managing me. I was at that point as well of like inflection. And we sat down and had this honest conversation one day about how he was like, I just can't quite get under your motivations because work seems to be quite low on your list at the moment. And I explained to him that, you know, I'd kind of wanted to move into something slightly different. And he was like, all right. He said, I think you're going to struggle because you're quite old now. I was 29 at the time. He's like, you're quite old now. So I think you're going to struggle with this. He said, I was in exactly the same place. And basically my decision was to actually take work seriously and like knuckle down. But I understand, and we came to this kind of gentleman's agreement that from 9:01 to 5:30, I would give him a really solid shift and put my best in, but that like I wasn't too interested in sort of like, you know, the advisory, the bells and whistles. Like I was more than happy to turn up and do a good shift, but that you know, at that time, I was looking for something else, and he really like supported me in that transition by sort of like covering for me and making sure that I was, you know, kind of not handed stuff that, you know, didn't fit with my program that caused friction. So like he was just brilliant for me in that particular moment. So yeah, there's been a whole bunch of them. Pete, Graham, Kev Lord, Stuart, you know, like they've all taught me valuable lessons at a time when I needed to hear those valuable lessons. So I genuinely, I know I'm bad for this, but I genuinely couldn't pick a favorite because at that time, so many of them I needed for whatever was going on at that particular time.
Tony, you've touched on something there and you've kind of explained it, but I'd like to ask the question to people who are watching and to Lee. What values make a good boss? You talked about your favorites, but what makes a boss good? And you kind of mentioned it, Tony, but can you narrow it down?
I think the consistency of behavior is a vital thing as a boss, because when you are a subordinate to a boss, you want to learn the rules of their game because everyone has rules of their own game, right? And if you are somebody that is volatile and inconsistent in that particular environment, that is extremely destabilizing for the people working for you because you just don't know what they're going to get on any given day. I also think that like praising specifically, criticizing generally, and trying not to get too kind of like wildly excited about the wins and too like kind of, you know, horribly personal about the lows and stuff, and remembering that, you know, ultimately, you know, these things pass and they feel big in the moment, but, you know, when things go wrong, you know, we need to fix them, learn from them, and, you know, it's extremely rare in the working environment where somebody deliberately goes and does something to mess something up, you know. There's usually a reason for it and there's usually something we can learn from it. So just trying to be consistent, and also like, you know, just get to know the people that work for you or you work for as well. Like that was just kind of making it human to human rather than boss to employee, I think is something super important, like caring about them.
Lee, anything you want to add to that, or has Tony encapsulated it perfectly?
I think that it's important to feel like you're part of bigger than something of just yourself, right? And Gary was really good at that, and I always really appreciated that because you didn't feel like you were working for him. You felt like you were working for the cause or the goal,
Yes.
And he was there as part of that to guide and provide you with what you need, and that was a great dynamic. But it does remind me of a really good tip that I learned once for hiring. So if you're interviewing people, if you ask them who the best boss was that they ever had and why, they will tell you how they want to be managed, because in their answer is the essentially, this is how I want to be managed. So do I want flexibility? Do I want to be closely? Do I need a lot of feedback? It's a really good way to quickly, if you're hiring someone, figure out whether they're going to be a fit with you or not.
Genius. Gary's jumped into the comments again with another question. Gary, if you have so many questions, let's do a tete-a-tete. Come on the show. We'll do these questions in person. But let's ask Gary's question. Tony, do you feel like reading this one? Do you mind? It's too long.
You're worried that you'll get derailed midway through. Derailed midway through the question. So yesterday, Dave Selleck told the government committee that the priority should be digitalising everything first before embedding AI. Does the panel agree with Dave that analog processes don't lend themselves to tech rollouts, cloud or AI?
Immediate thought, yes. I'm sure I can rationalize that later, but immediate thought, yes. You have to digitize it first. If you've got people still scanning in paper, like there's an analog process. It means things can get missed. Sorry. So yeah, and if you look at other countries where they have a more modern infrastructure, I always talk about Estonia, right? Because I worked for an Estonian company several years ago. They are way more advanced than us, because after World War II, they had been bombed to shit, and they went, why would we get paper filing cabinets now that computers are here? Like that's the kind of thing they went with. So their infrastructure, like they laugh at our making tax digital initiatives. So they're like, we've had this for 30 years.
Yeah. This is just tax.
They laugh. It's just like honestly, there's countries in mainland Europe that's where like we've had this for years. Other avenues, chip and pin came out yonks before we had it in like Germany. So to answer the question, I completely agree. We have to have a digital first process, and then you talk about putting AI on. Yes, that's my stance on that, Gary.
Lee, you want to go?
I would agree with that. So I remember a really impactful talk that I watched, donkeys years ago. It was Guy Kawasaki, and it was just after Steve Jobs died, and he talked about the few things that he learned from him. And one of them was this idea of jumping the curve. So everything in a life cycle has an up and down like life cycle curve. So it just looks like a normal, like a bell curve distribution, really. And his point was that in the story that he told, is like in the 1800s or whatever, people used to go and cut off ice blocks and then drag them back to the city or whatever. And then there were ice warehouses, and then there were fridges. And so each of those, it's the same sort of process, but it's a different curve fundamentally. And so the analog working is on a very different curve to digital working. And so you've got to take that step, because otherwise you just don't have the infrastructure there in place to make best use of these things. And all the best you can hope for is you're just tacking stuff on. So you're still using paper receipts, but you're just using AI to scan it. Like you've got orders of magnitude difference in terms of what you can achieve if you're still on the wrong. If you get onto the correct curve.
Tony, your thoughts, good sir?
100%. Yeah. I think a mistake that I've seen lots when working in previous roles and sort of implementing is the idea of essentially starting with that kind of, like, to use your analogy, like the kind of bell curve, and starting with that bell curve of analog, and then essentially kind of identifying some of the sort of nodes along that path, along that curve, pulling them out, and then trying to replace them in an analog fashion with a tool that wasn't analog, that was more digital. So the example I would use would just be your general ledger software. It was like ripping out Excel and chucking in, Zero, Sage, Free Agent, whatever it is that your GL of choice, but not really adjusting any of the kind of sort of infrastructure in terms of the processes that kind of fed through that piece. You only have to look at the activation of bank feed statistics that Zero put out each year, and it's in the 30s or early 40s percentage wise of businesses that have got bank feeds connected. But that's an analog process being a digital tool being used for an analog process. And if you continue to just kind of build more layers on top of that stuff at the bottom, then I can't remember if it was Lucy yesterday or
Lucy who, for people who don't know?
Lucy Cohen, sorry. Somebody on LinkedIn when I was browsing yesterday used the sort of idea of like, if you're taking AI as the sort of final accelerant of things, like if you've built bad stuff, you're just going to accelerate bad stuff to be even bigger and more dangerous and unwieldy in the first place, which just kind of worried me a little bit. So yes, to Gary's question.
I have two
I used to
completely
describe it
non-sequitur
as
questions. Go on,
So I
continue.
was just going to throw one more point on this. So I used to describe this back when I was in the midst of it a bit more day to day. It's just like strapping an outboard motor to a rowing boat and calling it a speedboat. It's just, not the same thing, is it? Right?
No.
It's just not.
First question, Lee. Can we see you without your glasses on, please? You can say no.
You can, yeah. I might give away my superhero identity if I do that, though.
It's me, it's Lee.
Remarkable how small people's eyes look when they take their glasses off.
I assume you're short-sighted, and that's why they're magnifying, making your eyes look bigger, correct?
This makes me look cleverer.
If you say so. And second one. Hey, Lee, you can clip that one up. He's not going to clip it up. So for those who don't know, a part of our sponsorship is Lee does some of our clips, right? That's one of the deals we get. So if he doesn't clip up the funny parts that embarrass him, you know why. Second one is you have LinkedIn Premium. Is it worth it?
I do. So this is exactly part of the problem that I'm trying to solve. I'm guilty of it myself. So I got a free 2-month trial of it and have not really used it and got much out of it, which is
Activation gap, boy.
issue.
There we go.
Exactly. Yeah. So it looks great from what it is. So in the back end in Sales Navigator, which is more of what I'm interested in, the premium stuff, I suppose, is that you can load up a load of prospect companies that you want to work with, add all of your contacts into it, and then you can actually start organizing them into a org structure. So you go, well, this person reports to this person, that person reports to that person. I think that's immensely powerful for, it's useful for me, but really useful for SaaS vendors, because what you find is if you go into a big firm and you've only got one sponsor or one champion for you in that firm, your connection is very flimsy. Whereas if you can go and start building relationships with multiple people, you've got a much better chance of being sticky in that company as a SaaS vendor. So it's, really useful from that point of view. But like anything, you've got to use it, right?
I think that touches upon a point that Sam Horner made a couple of weeks ago about yeses being yeses and no's being no's, and why it takes so long accounting firms to make decisions. One part of that is if it's a larger firm, there are multiple stakeholders. Like there are just so many that you have to finesse.
There are stakeholders that you didn't even know were stakeholders.
There'll be a stakeholder that'll pop off at the 11th hour.
Firm.
Yeah, you've got 95% of the work done. Like 3 people have said, yeah, someone signed something, and someone go, hang on a minute. You'll be like, who the fuck are you? Are you even in? Like, do you mean? Like,
I won't name who it was because he probably wouldn't mind. But I remember going out to do an implementation with a firm many years ago, and there was like 2 people from each office, and we were sat around this table. It was about 30 of us, and we got to the last session. I was like, I was going to do like X for this last session, but I just think that there's a much more valuable thing that you can do. So it's like, shut laptops, everyone. I was like, tape recorders off. What is the problem? Because you lot are all like up for this. I can see this. You've got 20,000 clients and you've got like 15 on the platform. What's going on? And one of them was brave enough to answer my question and basically said, essentially the leadership can't agree on this as a route forward. So we spent 6 months building out a new service line for the business to do all our digital stuff. And it would all like all the marketing had been involved, like it was all kind of scoped out, all the campaigns were ready to run. 2 days before, the managing partner got wind of the project, having kind of like waved it on without really considering it properly at the beginning, didn't think it would get anywhere. 2 days before they launched the digital brand, he was like, right, stop. I'm going through every single one of the clients in my portfolio and working out if this prejudices our relationship in any way, because I have, relationships project pulled. It never got to see the light of day in like that guys. I'm sure they went back round and repeated it into the future. But this was, and they were like, just imagine how crushing that is to be like the person or the people that have worked on that project for that entire time, and at the last minute, it's just curveball comes out of nowhere and just chops the legs off it, and that was it. Yeah.
There's another dynamic to that that's worth knowing if you're trying to sell into firms, right? Is that those folks that were driving that have been found to be in direct contradiction to the MD. So you're a bit exposed there, right? Probably not in that one because there's quite a few of them. But if you've only got one chief sponsor in a firm, they've got a huge weight on their shoulder, because if it goes south, it's going to come back to them personally. And Rory Sutherland talks a lot about this. And there's also that famous campaign that no one got fired for buying IBM. So you've got to contend against that all the time. And so if you can build more of a consensus by getting more people within that firm on the bus, they then share responsibility. It's not going to come back to one person. So they can sort of feel like, actually, we all thought this was good. And so that removes one of those psychological barriers to moving forwards, which is this sort of social pressure.
So I also helped with clients driving that move to digitization as well, because then it's kind of like, well, we're actually not driving this, like, and we're also not listening to the people that are selling this to us. We're listening to our sort of North Star, which is, the people that use us as a business, and this is what they want, and therefore it's a much lower risk punt to move to this particular product because we're being asked for it by the people that matter. So
yeah, well, what switch there is doing nothing becomes a riskier option.
Yes, absolutely.
Because otherwise you're going to lose clients, right? So it's like, well, actually, if I did nothing, then I'm going to get my ass kicked. So I'll better do something now,
Going to jump into the comments real quick. Marcus Batson, long-time OG fan of the show. He was like fan number like 2 or 3 back in the day. Like, so we'll give him a shout out for that. Marcus Batson from Zama, by the way, good company. For a lot of firms, there's often a step needed before digitalizing, which is writing down the existing process and asking why each step happens and not keeping it all in someone's head. You are 100% right, Marcus. That's agreed. We concur. Will our normal off-piece questions work on you, Lee, because you've already had them? Or do you want me to try and step on Tony's toes and do the quickfire round off the dome?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's mix it up.
Are you okay with this, Tony?
Oh, mate, you crack right on. I love this kind of stuff.
Mine won't be as good as you, by the way. Like, we'll see how this works. Okay, Lee. Red wine or white wine?
Red.
North or south?
North.
Burgers or sausages?
Burgers.
Cheese or grapes?
Cheese.
Apples or bananas?
Bananas.
Zero or free agent?
Pass.
Dale or Tony?
Pass again. How many passes do I get?
You get one more. All right.
Okay.
Blue or red?
Blue.
Yellow or green?
Green.
Sunny holiday or snowy holiday?
Absolutely sunny. 100%.
France or Germany?
France.
Football or rugby?
Rugby.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
That's all I got so far. Thank you for humoring me. Appreciate it.
That's all right. Good questions.
They're not as good as Tony's. Like Tony, again, I always say, like, a sensible question, a silly question, or a Tony question. And it's because the Tony questions are well thought out. And like I said, he often puts context ahead of the question, which really helps with answers.
Makes it a good mix, though. You're a good team together.
Yeah, we're a pretty good team.
I really liked that, Dale. I thought that was exceptional, mate. And I think you've just talked yourself into giving our guests a selection choice. Do we want a Tony quickfire, which isn't really a quickfire, or do we want Dale's quickfire, which actually is a quickfire?
We want Tony's quickfire because it's built with purpose and designed, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to it. And we both know I have to mute myself when you do it, otherwise I'll interrupt. It's a thing. But there's an edit of me being fully muted. Thank you very much. So all for it.
That little.
Florentina's back. She was on last week. Hi all, late to the party. Nice to see you, Lee. Stallard.
Hey,
she was awesome.
She
was. Also, the food chat, obviously she does ERP migrations and stuff, which is a very rare skill in our industry, by the way. But the food chat was amazing. Brazilian pizza, never heard of it. And she told me about it. I was just like, yeah, keep talking foodie to me, baby. It was fantastic.
It was good.
Yeah, better than the Chilean pizza, right?
Exactly, yeah. Throwback.
Where was it you got it? Was it in Bolivia or Chile you got it in the end?
It was in Chile, I think. Yeah. We'd come out of Bolivia. And I am genuinely going to go back and spend some time and see if I can find a picture of it, because I definitely would have taken a picture of it because it was so memorably horrific, and it's lived with me forever. It gives me the occasional shudder when I think about it. Of just
context of people. The context of people who haven't seen the show. Last week we asked, like, where'd you have the worst pizza, and Tony had a debacle of a pizza in Chile.
It wasn't that clear of a cut reason for me to tell the story. I just hijacked it, and because it was a personal moment that I felt I needed to share. But yeah, it was yeah. If you want to hear more about it, go back and.
Similar question that's popped into my head. Lee, worst burger you've ever had? Not homemade. It's got to be something you tried to purchase.
I was going to say it's probably one of my own that I'd undercooked on a barbecue. I would have thought, but I think I remember going into Burger King once and ordering something that I thought was going to be quite a large burger because I was quite hungry, and it came out being quite not even a quarter pounder, just a thin thing. I think even my kids end up having bigger burgers than me on that instance, and I was quite put out. That's not to disparage Burger King. I quite like those. If I've been out for a long day in London or whatever, and I'm traveling home, it's 8 or 9 at night, it will be a Burger King I'll look for rather than a McDonald's.
Ooh. That leads to my next question. It's going to be a version of the hot beverage question. When you're out and about and you're getting your fast food fix and you have to go to one of the bigger chains, which chain are you going to? You've already answered. Burger King over McDonald's, Subway over Burger King, or KFC? Okay.
Yeah, KFC or Burger King will be the top, and it'll depend how I'm feeling. Do I want chicken or beef?
Can I give a few people a secret one they don't know about? All right, this one is called Morley's Fried Chicken. It's only in South London. I don't know how they do it. The chicken is disgustingly cheap compared to KFC. In my humble opinion, tastes better, but you can only get it in South London. Only.
Are you familiar with Chicken George?
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an. I swing. Sometimes I think it's amazing. Sometimes I think it's sort of not quite as amazing as I used to think it was. But it's like fried chicken, but they have all this kind of different sort of takes on fried chicken. So it's like there's like a Thai one, and then there's like a one with like a Rubicon mango sauce, and there's like a honey barbecue with frazzles on the top of it, and like it is.
That's too posh, mate. Morley's is like dirty South. Get that chicken. When I was a kid, hanging out with family and friends in London, we'd go chicken shop. I don't know how, we spend like hours there. And you can go to the boss man and order like, I don't know, 3 wings, a chicken sandwich, and a Mirinda drink for like £4. It's a bit more now, but like we'd waste time at the chicken shop. It is what it is. Marcus Batson, there's a Morley's in Gillingham, living the dream. See, man knows. Sorry, Tony, I interrupted you.
I really like this fast food line of questioning. What
there is, just to throw one in, the best burger I've ever had. There's a kind of place, but it was just around the corner from Edinburgh Castle when I was up there, and yeah, it's amazing. Just huge fat burger.
How sober were you at the time? Because I feel like that.
I was pretty sober. I was just just got off the train and just needed a little bite to eat, and it was incredible.
Red Dog Saloon in London, banging burgers.
Ooh.
Burger and Beyond is pretty good.
I've never been to a Five Guys either. That's still on the list of something I've got to try. I've never done that.
You need to go just for the experience, just to know you've been ripped off, right? Don't get me wrong, their burgers are delicious, but like you need to go. Also, you can't go if you've got a peanut allergy because they cook all their fries in peanut oil.
Oh, I'm good. I'm all right for that. That's fine.
Yeah, you need to go just to say you've done it.
The shakes are something. A banana and peanut butter shake from Five Guys comes as like a sort of a like a shake. It's not massive, like it's a shake. And then you look at it and you add up the calories on it, and it's like 1,200 calories for what would be a Diet Coke at no calories. I'm like, yeah.
Have you guys ever had In-N-Out burgers?
I think I have many years ago, yeah, but I didn't really know what it was, so I didn't really take it on.
Pretty decent. Their fries are awesome.
I've never had an In-N-Out burger, but it always reminds me of The Big Lebowski whenever I hear In-N-Out burger.
And that is a great film. Good shout.
Yeah, it's my favourite film.
Is it a film that you often repeat and replay?
Yeah, it gets better every time you watch it, I think, unlike most films.
Maybe I need to watch it again, because this might be a strongly unpopular opinion, but I watched it once and I just didn't get it at all.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, but like my best mate is quite like he was like into the grunge and Nirvana, and like it was around a similar-ish time, maybe a bit after that. But he used that as the example of like, when Nirvana, it made perfect sense. And then looking back on it, like, yeah, it's great, but you don't quite get the same feels as when it was live and happening at the time, that era kind of thing. And he used that as the example of The Big Lebowski, because he was like trying to get me to watch it. He's really big into films, and I watched it and I just don't get it. Like, it's just a guy walking around with a beard in a robe drinking White Russians, and like, I'm for that, but like, just did not land with me. So like, maybe I just need to go back and watch it again. And maybe also you can simplify everything into those kind of reductive terms. And take the joy out of life. Full stop. So,
question to the viewers, by the way, could someone tag Phil Hobden in this and say like 40 minutes in, because we're talking about films, and I often think about him.
Yeah.
And it made me think of a comment I made on one of his posts this Sunday. Where have all the action film one-liners gone? Like 80s, 90s. If I said "Hasta la vista, baby," you guys would go Terminator 2. You know, like if I said, I don't know, I kill a communist for fun, but for a green card, I carve them up real nice. You guys might know that. Where do those one-liners go, and why they're not there anymore? Is it because we're older and more mature, or do they not write them in that way anymore?
Phil might know. Don't know.
Phil might know. I feel like there's just, I don't know, you might be able to come up with examples that immediately prove me wrong, but I feel like there's just a lot less films, original films now. They're all like sequels or remakes or things like that. It's like a safe bet from a film company. Like, oh, everyone liked Snow White, so let's just do a live action version of it, right? Rather than like write something weird. Like, you know, Rocky would never get made now, right?
Yeah.
They just wouldn't take the punt on it.
Sometimes when I go to the cinema and I haven't got my kid with me, I watch the kid film, because sometimes, more often, they've got a more original plot or story.
Interesting.
The Wild Robot, exceptional film. Great film.
Yeah, that was a good film, actually.
There is a trend among like highbrow smart people to like look at Disney films and extract the storyline from out the Disney films, isn't there, and apply it to the real world. I don't have any examples, but I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson does quite a bit of that, and they don't come off that favourably all the time. So every time you watch an old Disney film now, it's got the disclaimer at the front, hasn't it, of like the various different factions of people that they've offended over the years. Yeah.
I watched Aladdin a couple of months ago with my small human. It was like, this perpetuates stereotypes of people in the Middle East. And you're like, actually, yeah. Like Jafar, like he is like the most, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but like just overhyped bad guy, racial stereotype for a Middle Eastern person. Like, okay, yeah, I can kind of get it. But I think it's good that they have them, and then it's good they keep the warning up. So let's go into politics a little bit here. I don't like cancel culture, because that's when history gets lost. If something bad happened, or we find out something bad happened with someone, leave their legacy, but just put a warning. By the way, this person actually did these bad things. Disney leaving it up and letting people watch it and going, by the way, this stuff is bad. I think that's important.
I agree with you. I think the challenge with that is that we've lost a lot of nuance in our public discourse. And so it's either someone's a bad person or they're a good person. Like, people get very, very annoyed when you talk about Churchill's views on eugenics, because it's like, well, that's like, he's a good guy and he's a hero, so we shouldn't talk about those things. But actually, like, everybody's a complex mix of good and bad things, and you know, nobody's perfect. And I think, yeah, I agree with you, but we need that nuance back that I think like short form social media has sort of robbed us of a little bit, because everything's a headline, right? Everything needs to be understood in 30 seconds, where the world is just not like that at all.
Again, I'm just going to appeal to the people watching this. I haven't seen anyone tag Phil Hobden yet.
Yeah,
please do. I'm going to call you up by name. Florentina, if you're still watching. Kirsty, if you're still watching. Marcus, if you're still watching. Gary Turner, I'm not going to ask you to do it, but yeah, there's chop, tag Phil, please. That'd be great. Just timestamp it, 40 minutes, so we can comment.
I love how you just excused Gary. He's first-time commenter, I think.
He hasn't been on the show yet.
He hasn't.
And he's a first-time commenter. Everyone else has been on the show.
Prolific, then. Yeah, Gary, if you are still listening, Dale and I have talked a number of times.
He's
might
busy.
be. You never know. He could be a busy
he's
man.
got stuff
we
to do.
have talked about a number of times how he would be a dream guest of ours. So if you're up for it, then yeah, you've got to shoot your shot, right?
Also,
go on. Yeah. No, go on.
Say, if anyone's worried about pissing off Phil, just say Dale said to do it. Like, I'll take the full heat for that.
No, Phil loves being involved. Phil would be upset that there was a party that he mentioned that he wasn't there at that time.
Man does throw good parties as well. Sorry, workplace networking events, not parties.
Just stick on the movie theme for a bit, just in case Phil does show up. Have you guys come across the like the story shapes, like the movie archetypes? You ever heard of that?
I think so. Is it like Shakespeare basically came up with 7 main story types hundreds of years ago, and all films followed those 7 narratives? Like, there's literally no other ones. Is that right? In
Pretty
Western
much,
media,
yeah. I don't think it was Shakespeare, but there's certain folks over time that have just said, well, most popular stories that endure follow these certain shapes. Like, it'll be a rags to riches story, like Aladdin, or it'll be a rags to riches to rags story, or inverted, or whatever it is. They all follow these certain things. And then there's the hero's journey as well, which is what exactly Star Wars is. So it's exactly the hero's journey. It's just in space or whatever. But yeah, it's really interesting. It does sort of begin to ruin films for you a bit because you sort of very quickly grok the pattern. You go, okay, I know what's going to happen now.
Is that the one where the guy draws it on a whiteboard? There's a video of it, and he draws it on a whiteboard of sort of like the hero's up, the hero's down, hero's back up again, kind of thing. Where does Fast and Furious franchise come into that? There's like 6 categories, then there's one about cars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a Vin Diesel category.
I love how I stopped watching them after like maybe 4 or 5. Obviously, I've seen clips and reels, and it's like I love how more and more outrageous they become in like the stunts. I think one of the last adverts I saw for like 9 or 10 was like the car blowing up, falling off, going off a bridge, and like Vin Diesel jumping out of another car and timing it perfectly to him landing the other car, and like no damage whatsoever. And I was just like, come on, guys, like come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah. It is switch your brain off sort of film, though, isn't it? It's just switch your brain off, enjoy.
Not that we have a point-based system, and not that we have favourite guests, but Florentina, plus 10 points, you've gone up the rankings. I assume she's done at Phil Hobden. Yeah.
10 points.
I would enjoy it if she hadn't. She just mentioned him without tagging.
Yeah. Thanks, Florentina. Plus 10 points. Lee, Florentina's beating you in the points ranking. Sorry, the unofficial, non-recorded points ranking because we don't have favourite guests.
Yeah, of course. But still, it's like an unspoken thing, isn't it?
Some guests are better than others.
What I would recommend is not asking whether you were whether you're Dale's favourite guest or not, because that gets a short bat.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, as Ariona found out.
You can't be afraid of frank feedback, can you?
You cannot.
I think she asked us if the best episode. Is that what she said? Best episode?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah. They're all good. Dale's like, they're not. They're just all the ones I've been on, mate.
I guess it's down to personal preference, isn't it, really? We all have subjective metrics on what we define as good for entertainment.
Absolutely.
Look at me being deep and existential. Yeah, very rare moment of clarity. Okay, so Florentina actually did ask earlier. Hold on. We want the past questions. So, Tony, between us, should we do the usual trope questions, even though Lee's already answered, like just real quick in the next 5 minutes, just like quick ones? Yeah?
We could, yeah. I think...
I think Florentina means the ones that I passed on
one
today.
that he should pass, like Dale or Tony.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Gary or Glenn. I mean, I'm guessing the fact that Lee passed on them means that he's sticking with the pass and that we're not going to get
Well, I often tell people there's no pressure to answer questions, so I'm not going to pressure to answer questions, really. As you know.
What's the question again? Sorry, I missed it.
It's like, who's your favourite boss? And I think in the quickfire I asked some things like Zero versus Free Agent. Again, not going to make you say that.
Yeah.
Just trying to be funny.
And it was Dale versus Tony. Who's your favourite?
You should have picked Zoe.
And we all know the answer to that question is Zoe.
It's Zoe. Every time we ask this question, like, who's your best host? People are always like, Zoe, where's Zoe? Bring Zoe back.
Obviously, it's Zoe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what? I'll tag Zoe and timestamp that 47 minutes so she knows that everyone prefers her than both of us.
Yeah. And we are going to get Zoe back on again soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's just picking and choosing at the moment.
For those of you who don't know, it was Zoe going like, if you need a substitute last minute host, I'll join. But then she's become so popular, it's now us begging her to come back on the show. So that's what happened. It might become her show, to be honest. Yeah.
You slowly take it over.
Flabonga Monthrothacube.
Yeah. And again, in the future, I don't know if you guys know this, audience, we're planning in the future to do these in person. Like we'll book some studio time. We'll get people. We'll book them for like 2, maybe 3 hours. Actually have a chat, do some solid editing. It means Tony and I can speak at the same time. We might even have more people on at once. We might do like a what's it called again? The Samoan Circle thing from Alternative Events. That's a great thing.
You hire out that chicken joint in South London you're on about and do it in there.
Yeah, like the hot wings.
Like hot ones.
I love the idea of Hot Ones, and I want to steal that idea. I'm not going to lie. If anyone doesn't know YouTube, there's a show called Hot Ones. They get celebrities who've got amazing media training, eating gradually hotter and hotter wings, and because the wings are so hot, they lose all their media training, and you get some very good answers from very known celebrities like, I don't know, Will Smith and Johnny Knoxville, and lots of famous people, depending on different industries. It's a great show. Ooh, Brilliant Beam Media. Just so you guys don't know, that's a company in Texas, which means it's probably like 6 a.m. for them, right? Something like that. They're never up this early. Thanks, Brilliant Beam. We're friends with them on YouTube as well. They give us love. We give them some love. They're like a media conglomerate.
That'll be it. Rather than go to South London, we're going to be out. You'll be out into Texas, right? Straight there. Texas Barbecue Live podcast.
That I think would be a great like lived filmed experience of FM. Would be sort of like
that's me and you doing Grand Tour style, right? Like a whole documentary.
Yeah. Well, no, what I'd got in my mind was like a sort of little backyard of like me and Dale with like aprons on, cooking stuff on barbecues, and everyone just kind of milling around, and like the sun sort of like setting behind James Sunden's head, and various other
notable people,
multi-time OGs of the show that were eating burgers and laughing and clipping and other bits and pieces. So I think that'd be really cool.
I've had another idea for the show. Sorry, go on, Lee.
I was going to say, a little fintech meetup, film it, barbecue, Dale and Tony on the steaks. Sounds great.
FM after dark, hidden behind a paywall. It's us drinking. It's us drinking and asking these questions. Like we will host it on our own platforms. It's not on YouTube. So it's stuff that I Tita are getting cancelled. Like it'll be stuff that'll be unfiltered because I'll have a few drinks. Sound like fun?
Terrifies me.
How about this? Go on.
As long as it wasn't live streamed, then that would be a.
No, it can't be live streamed. We'd both get cancelled.
Lee, this might be one that's. There's a rugby podcast called, I think it's called For the Love of Rugby, and it's got Ben Youngs and Dan Cole presenting it, and they're pretty like I like what they do, and they've been doing it a little while now, and I feel like they've really found their groove. But they were doing like presenting at awards sessions, and they're all in their tuxes with their microphones. And you can just feel like they're a bit boozy, and the excitement, and sort of like you immediately feel like there's 2 or 3 more notches of freedom that they're feeling at the given time when they're doing these little interviews with various different people.
Nice.
And it's a fine line, isn't it? There's definitely a line somewhere.
You've got to have an editorial layer there, right? Just in case. Let the lawyers look it over.
Yeah.
100%.
I had something in my head that just dropped out of my head. We've done a lot of just random chatting. Lee, a more serious question or a Tony question. Like what grabs you in our world at the moment now in terms of like the themes and narratives that people are talking about that you think is either interesting or scary or fun, or like what is it that's you're spending your time pondering? Because I know you, like the three of us, are a thinker, right? And I'm just keen on what is in your brain that people are chatting about at the moment. Interesting stuff.
I think that it's probably a cliche thing, but I suppose what's going on with AI just opens up so many opportunities and so much potential. And there's this quote from Game of Thrones that chaos is a ladder, right? I know it's the evil villain guy that says it, but it just throws everything up, right? And you can then start to use that to your advantage. And I think there's a really interesting dynamic where employment will start to change a little bit. So obviously everyone that's got their own businesses can use Claude and AI and stuff, and we know the advantages there. But I think that employees can come to the point where it's like, well, you're not just hiring me, you're hiring kind of a little team. But it's just that the team are little AI bots. I'm going to do this job. So if I'm a CFO or whatever I am, I'm going to arm myself up with all of these support tools so I can deliver double what I could on my own. And you're sort of paying for that. And so I think that entrepreneurial mindset and that problem solving approach to things is just going to become more and more and more relevant, and probably becomes the most important skill. Because if you're an employee and you use those things, you can go and figure most things out. So I think that will start to shift the job market a little bit, and employees will have to think a little bit more like that, I reckon.
It's a great take. I've not heard that one before. Thank you. I realize we haven't done anything. We haven't done the zoom in yet, by the way. We haven't got intimate. There we go. Because I know that makes editing harder for you, Lee. So I thought I'd just do it just at the end.
It's all good.
You're welcome.
Don't worry.
Comfortable silence.
I'm very uncomfortable with uncomfortable silences. So I was going to say something I thought a bit ago, Tony, when you were saying you were going to go back to Chile. I thought it'd be fun if you actually went out there and taught them to make the pizza better, rather than just get a picture of it, right? And I was just thinking I'd pay good money for a sort of a Top Gear road trip style show to watch that with you two go around teaching people how to cook good food. It sort of goes back to that barbecue thing we were on about, but that'd be good fun.
Despite having no qualifications in cooking pizza, I'm pretty sure that I could help them to improve.
Yeah.
See this
that's the hook of the show, right?
Nope. see this uncooked ham? Also, nope.
Marder says now, I have a question. Please ask away. We may not put it up. We may not even answer it, but you can ask it. Mardev says now, working on quantum computing for our region, how is it for you guys in the UK? Who wants to go first on this? Because I've got opinions already, but happy to.
I will go first. Not a subject that I'm in any way qualified to comment on, so I have nothing to say on this one. So punt to you to.
I have a lot to say on this one, so happy to wait.
I'll go because my thoughts are going to be fairly limited. So I was actually having a chat with Claude about this the other day. I was trying to understand how it works, and you got like superpositions and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, well, why does that? Won't everything become quantum? And it's like, no, it has to be at like really cold temperatures, and it's really difficult. It's only good for certain things. And then classical computing, which I found like a slightly offensive term, is still going to be more powerful for most things that we do, but it just opens up a lot of opportunities. But beyond that, I know very little.
Cool. So quantum computing will be an absolute game changer. It could break a lot of things in terms of encryption. The reason being, Lee, you mentioned superposition. I don't understand quantum physics, but I understand the nature of how it would work in a CPU. So a CPU is usually on or off, 1 or 0 IO, right? When you use a quantum computer, it can be 1, 0, or in between. That's the quantum part of it. And essentially, usually, I'm trying to use my fingers here, you've got a frequency. That's what megahertz and gigahertz are, up and down. But the idea is if it goes straight through, like a quantum position, it's making that calculation without doing the up, down, up, down, up, down, right? Because there's limits to how quickly you can do that. And for example, current CPUs, they're the smallest they can be, like 2 nanometers, right? To actually pass through a current, so you can actually do that. So they're literally computers at their physical limitation. It used to be something called Moore's law, which meant the CPU processing power would double every 2 years, and it's been that trajectory. Quantum CPUs will blow all out of the water. When it comes to encryption, quantum CPUs will break a lot of things. So that's going to be a big game changer. In terms of what AI can do, AI is limited, like many softwares, is limited by the hardware. The hardware, right. Quantum CPUs will be an absolute game changer. It will allow the thinking part of AI to be significantly greater. Like right now, all the smart AIs we have are relatively dumb by comparison. Quantum CPUs will enable actually true smart AI. It will be very interesting to see. And yeah, because like, for example, the traveling salesman problem, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with this paradox. If you have a person who has to go from point A to point B, straight line, shortest answer. If they have to go from point A, B to C, if B is on the way to C, you set that journey A, B, C. That becomes very hard to calculate when you get 20 different positions, right? Based on the directions you've got to travel. A quantum CPU will be able to do that in seconds. And the current CPU will have to take minutes, hours, and depending on how many variables you have, it's almost impossible. Quantum CPU will be able to do that very, very quickly. So it would be a massive game changer in logistics, in finance, in law, in comms. It will disrupt a lot of markets. But the problem is, like you say, Lee, they have to be really, 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 really cold, and they're very expensive at the moment.
Yeah. But then, so were old computers, right? You have to take a wall out to put a computer into a building when they were first created, and so now it's not, right. It's in your watch. So you know that sort of stuff changes. So not to go too tinfoil hat with it, but it does occur to me that if you had AI powered by supercomputer, you could probably generate quite a number of sentient-ish AI bots. And if you could do that, and you could do a couple of billion of them, you could sort of get into Matrix territory, right? Which correct. I don't think the Matrix is right. I don't think we're in a simulation. But if you were in a government organization and you wanted to go, well, we don't quite know how this is going to pan out. Like, what would happen if Donald Trump became president? How would that pan out over the next 10 years? Well, I'll tell you what, throw it in the quantum simulator and see what happens. Because like the world just seems more and more crazy at the minute. It's like a kid playing their really advanced version of The Sims that's got bored and just keeps throwing weird stuff at us.
Look, first of all, good Sims reference. For people who are younger than us, Sims 1 and 2 were great games. Enjoy them.
Yeah.
Second of all, if we're going to go full tinfoil hat, let's be honest, most militaries around the world have technologies we don't have at least 50 years ahead of us. Who's to say the military haven't already built some kind of semi-sentient AI and they did it years ago? And this is my jokey tinfoil hat one. Has AI already taken over? Because if AI was smart, what it wouldn't do is it wouldn't announce itself like the movies like Terminator or The Matrix or Space Odyssey 2001. It would probably sit there quietly, gather information, increase its reach and ability to contact the world, I don't know, like drones and cameras and microphones. And then what it would probably do is subtly change things, I don't know, stock market or buying behaviors and patterns until we don't even realize it's taken over. That's what I would do, and I'm not that smart. So it was the case that AI is smart. It's probably already here and it's already taken over. I don't know, messing with our algorithms and changing our search preferences and getting us to pay on bids for. It's already here if it is here. I know, dark thoughts. Let's go to the comments real quick. Oh, wait. There we go. Indy. Thanks, Indy, because I went on a little tinfoil hat rant. And we're almost at the hour as well. Inteller, we don't create energy in the UK. We need to sort the baseline out. We just don't have compute power generation capabilities. The UK is a price taker on all fronts. Yeah, good shout, Indy. That's another thing. So in answer
I agree completely on this. And when that news came out the other day of the US telling Anthropic they couldn't offer Fable to anyone that wasn't a US citizen, I immediately thought, I should go and find a British AI company and back that, because otherwise we'll just get cut off at a certain point, or there's a risk that we will. And there are none. There literally is none. The closest I could find was Mistral AI, which is French. So I'll sign up for that and I'll have a little bash on that. But it would just, I think we really need to get our act together. Otherwise, we risk being at a massive disadvantage, because if the US just says, well, we don't know what you're doing anymore, we don't like your government, we're just going to switch off AI to your country, then that's a problem.
I want to keep talking for longer. I know Tony's got points, but we have to wrap this up because I got a day job.
No, I'm not. I'm just soaking it in. This is
so. Lee, last but not least, do you have a final nugget, bombshell, or bit of wisdom you want to go out on? I've got my finger hovered over end stream. Let's go.
Yeah, like the more the world changes, the more it stays the same, because actually at the core of it, all of our meat computers are still running software that's 100,000 years old. So just be nice to each other.